What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. The WBC convention and how all this ties in with the Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury versus Dillian, the Can Man White. I was going to all tie in. I'm going to set the stage for you and put the pieces of the puzzle together so you can see what I'm talking about. The WBC convention kicked off at the end of October. Now, I've read several different articles saying what date it was supposed to take place. Now, it was widely speculated that the convention was going to be starting tomorrow, November 1st. But when I've Googled the WBC convention 2021, they said it started already. I think it started either on the 28th or the 29th. That's neither here nor there. But the WBC is supposed to be letting everybody know what the status is on the mandatory. Now, when you listen to Eddie Hearn, who promotes Dillian Whyte, he's talking like it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to order Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. He's done several interviews basically talking about the fight is going to happen, and he would like to put the fight in the UK, in a big stadium over there in the UK. Bob Arum, who promotes Tyson Fury, has echoed those comments, saying that Tyson Fury's next fight will be in the UK because his last 5 fights have been here in America, and he's due for a homecoming fight as he's done a good job of gaining exposure here in America off of 3 Deontay Wilder fights and a fight with Tom Schwartz, and Otto Wallin. Now let's just go and assume that the WBC is going to make Dillian Whyte the mandatory. Because when you look at Dillian Whyte, first of all, you look at Dillian Whyte is 2-2 in his last 4 fights. So let's not act like this guy is just wait, my bad. Let me correct myself. He's not 2-2 in his last 4 fights, but he basically was on the brink of getting a title shot before he lost to Alexander Povetkin the first time. Now, he's able to win the rematch, but does he regain his status that he had going into that Povetkin fight as basically on the brink of getting a title shot with the WBC champion, or does he have to get another significant win? Now, he obviously had a fight lined up with Otto Wallin. He pulled out of that fight with the Fugazi shoulder injury. A lot of people are like, man, what you know about his shoulder injury? You don't know what's going on in that man's shoulder, JB Sports. Look, what I do know is everybody has bumps and bruises in training camp. Everybody's dealing with an injury in training camp. Nobody's going into a fight 100%. You listen to what Teofimo Lopez said after the Vasily Lomachenko fight, when Lomachenko was making all these excuses like he was hurt and he wasn't healthy going, in that fight. And Teofimo Lopez said, look, man, I had some nicks. I had some bumps and bruises. I had a injury going into that fight, but we fighters, we're warriors. I ain't gonna make no excuses. Neither does he. Neither should he make excuses. That being Vasily Lomachenko, he shouldn't make no excuses. You just got to go in there and make it happen. You out there sparring, the minute rounds they spar, getting ready for a fight, you're going to take some nicks. You're going to take some bruises. You're going to take some bumps. And you might suffer a little injury, but you got to go in there and make it happen anyway. How many times we know the great Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his hand issues he had? You think that man's hand was 100% going into a lot of his fights? Hell to the nah, but he went into that ring and he performed, and he's undefeated till this day. And my Deontay Wilder, of course. The man is undefeated, so you got to make it happen. So I'm not saying the guy is lying about his shoulder. I'm sure something is going on with his shoulder. But is it enough to stop him from getting in the ring with Otto Wallin? Hell no. No, it's not enough to stop him from getting in the ring with Otto Wallin. But why chance that? The risk does not outweigh the reward. You go in there not 100%, you're in there with a tricky guy, a southpaw, a guy that's actually a better boxer than you. You have the power advantage. You're the bigger guy. Maybe you can implement your size and strength and you take him out of there. But maybe he boxing circles around you. And with your shoulder issue that you got going on, You know, maybe that plays a part and you end up losing that fight. So, of course, you pull out of that fight when you got the bag on the line against Tyson Fury, the bag that you hope to get on the line against Tyson Fury, of course you pull out of that fight. But for him to make it look like, oh, man, basically what they trying to say is, you know, they trying to make it seem like, man, if the dude ain't got a torn rotator cuff or something like that, or a torn labrum, something like that, that's what's going to cause you to pull out of a fight. But if you got it kind of like a bruise in your shoulder, you got some kind of issues going on your shoulder, but you know, you basically might have to stop sparring for a week or two, but you basically gonna be all right, man. You should have been sparring anyway, lead up to this fight. Anyway, that's why you have like 8 to 10 weeks of training camp. Say you gotta take a week or two off, you still got 8 weeks of proper training to get ready for the fight. I heard one fighter say that, man, all I need is 6 weeks and I'm good. So I don't know about these guys taking these 10, 12-week training camps getting ready for a fight. Sometimes them guys go in there and they don't perform and they cite overtrained as a problem, being overworked. They say, oh man, I overtrained for this fight. Now I had a 12-week camp. Okay, why you have a 12-week camp when I think Floyd Mayweather said this, man. He said, look, man, all I gotta need is 6 weeks and I'm good. That's all you need is 6 weeks. You don't need to be, even in between fights, you don't need to be blown up in weight anyway. You need to be keeping yourself in good shape anyway. When you come into training camp, you shouldn't be using training camp to lose weight. Errol Spence Jr. had problems with that in his last couple of fights. You know, and I think they helped with his performances. You know, blowing up in weight and have to get down to the weight of your fight at 147 pounds. That's why he had problems. That's neither here nor there, but if the WBC does what Eddie Hearn saying that they're going to do, and they make Dillian Whyte the mandatory, and he don't have to fight Arthur Wallin, they don't make him have to take that fight, and he just becomes automatic mandatory. You know, you got to understand that the Arthur Wallin fight wasn't voluntary, so I do believe, in my opinion, the WBC will not force him to fight Arthur Wallin. He can go right ahead into the Tyson Fury fight. Now, Eddie Hearn, at first, when he was talking about the fight about a week ago, he was saying, yeah, man, you know, I have no problem working with Bob Arum and ESPN. I have no problem. We can work out a deal and we can make the fight happen. Nah, all of a sudden, Eddie Hearn is talking about a purse bid. Talking about a purse bid. Say, oh, well, if we can't come to an agreement, we'll go to the purse bid. Why do he want to go to the purse bid? Number one, Eddie Hearn want to be the lead promoter for that fight. He don't want to play second fiddle to Bob Arum in Top Rank Boxing. Make no mistake about it. This fight here to Eddie Hearn basically took the place of the Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight. As you saw, Eddie was out there flying in his private jet going to Saudi Arabia, trying to squeeze blood out of tournament, trying to get every nickel, every dime, every penny out of the Saudis to maximize that fight in a 2-fight deal. And he was the lead promoter of that fight. You know, Bob Arum was going to be co-promoter, and Frank Warren, they're going to be co-promoter. But basically, Eddie Hearn was the top dog for that fight. He was the lead guy, even though there is going to be a quote-unquote co-promotion. Eddie Hearn was going to call the shots. He was making the deal with the Saudis. He was going to get the site fee set up, and everything was basically going. Basically, everything was transpiring with Eddie Hearn and the Saudis. So he's basically running that. And he wants to be in that same position. Eddie Hearn don't want to be, even though Dillian Whyte is the clear B side, and Anthony Joshua actually was the A side in the Fury fight, even though it was a 50-50 deal, Anthony Joshua is the guy that's the marquee fighter between those two. He's the guy with the high profile. He's the guy that commands a high purse. He's the guy that's done better numbers than Tyson Fury. So make no mistake about it. Going into that fight, even though it was a 50-50 deal, Anthony Joshua was the A side. Now, Dillian Whyte is a clear B side, but Eddie Hearn do not want to play second fiddle in a fight that's, you know, it's going to be one of the biggest heavyweight fights in UK history. He wants to be the guy leading that fight. He wants to be the guy that's in command of that fight. He wants to be the lead promoter of that fight. He said, look, Bob Arum not even from the UK. Why should he be the lead promoter for this fight? So he wants that fight to go to the purse bid. Make no mistake about it. He's going to say, well, I'm going to work with Bob Arum. Hopefully we'll come with a deal. But he basically saying in the same breath that if Dillian Whyte don't get what he want, and Dillian Whyte got to be respected, even though we understand that he's the B side, he must be paid accordingly. And you got to understand that Dillian Whyte is basically the second biggest UK star over there. He's right behind Anthony Joshua. When you look at the pay-per-view numbers that they do over there, they was doing it on Sky pay-per-view. He was doing the second best numbers behind Anthony Joshua. So he's a very well-known fight over there. Now, he don't have too much of a name over here in the U.S., but he has a real good name over there in the U.K. So, we'll see how that plays out, man. But Eddie Hearn wants to do that. Now, Eddie Hearn, also in the back of Eddie Hearn's mind, is thinking like, look, he know Fury, and in particular Bob Arum, don't want that fight to go to purse bid. Because they understand that Eddie Hearn in the zone outbidded them on the Teofimo Lopez-George Camboso fight. And that was one of Top Rank's top fighters, that being Teofimo Lopez. And Eddie Hearn them came with the bag. And the only reason why they didn't get that fight was because Thriller, who are boxing neophytes, came in there with some crazy money and paid way more than that fight was worth, and they was able to get that fight. But you see what happened afterwards. They stumbled and bumbled and ended up pulling out of that fight, and now it's gone to the second highest bidder, and that was Eddie Hearn in the zone. So he believes he can outbid Bob Arum in Top Rank Boxing and get that fight. But he also thinks that Bob Arum is not going to allow that fight to go over there up under the hands of Eddie Hearn in the zone, up under his promotion, and he plays second fielder. He believes that Tyson Fury could very well vacate that belt. And if he vacates that belt, who's next in line? Who's number one in the WBC? Who's the master of the one-hitter quitter? AKA the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder. And that's the fight Eddie Hearn been chasing for years. Understand me? He's been chasing that fight for years. So Eddie Hearn, in his mind, is sitting in the catbird seat. He'll be more than willing to let this fight go to purse bid, and he outbids Top Rank like he outbidded him on the Teofimo Lopez-George Camboso fight, and get the fight on the zone of Eddie Hearn, and he promotes it. But if if Bob Arum and Tyson Fury say, we ain't finna do this, we not finna stand for this, we finna just drop the belt. And if that's the case, Eddie Hearn gonna say, cool, because he knows, like I said, Deontay Wilder is the highest ranked in the WBC, and that will then force the WBC to order Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder. First of all, if he vacates their belt, I don't know if they'll just give the belt to Dillian Whyte outright. I think they would, and he would have to defend it against Deontay Wilder. Or would they just put that belt up for the winner of Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder? So Eddie Hearn is always out here playing chess. He's always one step ahead of the game, but you just got to be like a brother like me and see through all that. And I always know how this cat is always thinking. He's always thinking 2 steps ahead of a lot of people. A lot of people don't see what he out here trying to do, but I do. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires, but make no mistake about it, Deontay Wilder could be getting a title shot against Dillian Whyte. And Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury is far from being a done deal. People out here talking like this fight is definitely happening. It's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of obstacles that need to be cleared for this fight to actually take place. And that's 2 people that need to come together. They couldn't come together on the biggest fight in boxing history, according to Eddie Hearn, when we was talking about Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. They took too long, and they let the judge come through the side door and arbitrated that ruled in Deontay Wilder's favor. And they pulled the rug up under Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum and forced Tyson Fury to fight Deontay Wilder for the 3rd time. And Eddie Hearn is not forgot about that. That's why he's going to, in a way, play hardball too with Top Rank and Bob Arum. That's why he might not be so easy to negotiate with. If he don't get everything he wanted, then some, he might be willing to go to purse bid, knowing that it's a chance that Bob Arum and Tyson Fury will vacate that belt, and that will set the stage for Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is ranked number 1 in the WBC, and Andy Ruiz is ranked number 2. Now those 2 guys, I think, will end up fighting in the first quarter of 2022 if Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury does come off. But if it don't come off and we get Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder, then that'll put Tyson Fury looking for a dance partner and Andy Ruiz looking for a dance partner. Tyson Fury, if he does vacate that belt, he'll be saying what he said after he gave those belts up due to depression and being a cokehead. He'll say he's the lineal champion. He'll still be the Ring Magazine champion. So he'll still lay claim to those 2 titles. But he won't be the WBC heavyweight champion if they indeed vacate their belt, knowing there's a chance that Eddie Hearn and the Zone will win that purse bid and put that fighter in Wembley Stadium. And it'll be on the Zone. And it'll be Eddie Hearn as the lead promoter. He would want that definitely to happen. Especially when you're talking about one of the biggest heavyweight fights in UK history. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about Fury-Whyte versus Tyson Fury. Do you think that fight comes off? Do you think they negotiate and get a deal done for both purse bid? Or do you think it goes to purse bid? If it does go to purse bid, who you think wins the purse bid? Do you think Eddie Hearn wins it? Or does Bob Arum win it? Or does it a third party win it? You got other countries that can come in and bid. Maybe Triller comes in again and bids on it. You just never know. Let me know your thoughts. And subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.